Okay, shall we start?
Shall we?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Hello, friends. It's so delightful to be here on a Sunday afternoon with two Finnish musicians. We are joined by Suvi and Emilia. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yeah.
They're two fiddle players. They play 5-string fiddles. And we've been put together with them through Global Music Match, and they're our very first interview. And so we're really delighted to be here with you. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. So we thought we'd just start with the classic first question, which I'm sure everyone's asked you in all of the interviews, but how did you first meet and what led you to start a duo together?
Well, we met at about 2002 maybe, in the corridors of Sibelius Academy, where we both studied. So Emilia had been there for a few years before me, and then I started my studies, and then we met through friends and colleagues studying there. And then in 2004 we started to we made this project with a third fiddler called Pia Kleemala, where we danced and played a violin, and then there were three dancers as well. So it was a sort of dance thing, and we played that it was till 2007 maybe. We played the odd gig here and there together with other people, and there was all this. When you're studying, you're always playing with people, here and there. And then it was actually Pia, the third fiddler from the first project, who asked us to play a gig, because she couldn't do a gig on the same day that she had her doctoral examination, the last thing of that. But someone had asked her to play a gig in the same town she was doing that, and we were going to her thing in any case, so we were in the right city. So she was like, well, you two could do this gig. And we're like, okay, we'll do that gig. And then we realized that it was so much fun to actually play as a duo. That's where we sort of started, and that was I think November 2010. So we sort of have a 10-year anniversary next year, actually.
This is so funny because this is really quite similar to our story. We also met at college, and we've been going, well, probably properly since about 2010. The stuff before that was sort of,
We keep that quiet.
Better not talk about
experimenting.
The experimental phase. So
By
did
the way,
you study traditional music or a mixture of different types? Yeah, traditional.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your studies of it? Because both of us studied classical music, actually. So we were just born into traditional music, but we didn't officially study it. So it'd be interesting to hear about your experience of studying.
So basically, I have started with the classical music, but in our studies in Sibelius Academy, they are like only folk music if you don't ask any classical music. So I have been focused on mainly Finnish traditional folk music and some Scandinavian and Balkan music and that kind of things. So it was kind of a mix of everything that. And also the Finnish tradition, fiddler tradition is so interesting for me. I have been quite deep in there and still working with that.
They also include loads of improvisation and arrangement and composing. It's when you study folk music, you study all the aspects of music, and you also study dancing, and we do a lot of stuff. You get to do just loads and loads of stuff.
That's so cool. I love that. How long has there been traditional music in the Sibelius Academy?
Since 1983.
Wow. So it's a really established course. Yeah. Because it
was the first university in Europe, I think, that had folk music as sort of a main course.
That's great, because the ones in the UK are still quite new, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that you have improvisation as part of your of the
It's a
course.
big part, actually.
How to improvise around folk music is quite an interesting thing.
But,
Do you
yeah.
incorporate
Sorry.
a lot of the improvisation in your current music then?
We do have improvised solos, of course, but we also sort of keep the arrangements quite flexible, so that things can happen every time we play it. And that there's sort of a basic structure that we follow, and we have the sort of but then if the mood takes you, you can do small stuff within the arrangements.
Yeah.
And it's changing all the time. Like, we used to have quite strict structures, but nowadays I think they've become more sort of fluid in a sense.
Emilia's got a helper actually. You might be able to hear in the background.
Yes.
With Suvi, we are using the fiddlers music and also the older layer of our kind of tradition, Finnish. So that last one is kind of meditative music. So that brings some different things than in a like a tune based improvisation.
Yeah,
in our music.
Cool.
And in that music, improvisation is definitely a part of that music. So you may have like 8 bars or 10 bars or something, and then you make a tune that lasts for like 10 minutes or 30 minutes. So the roots of the music are in the tradition, but then you sort of improvise with the structures you have from there.
Amazing. That's so cool. We absolutely love Finnish music and just are so fascinated by your tradition over there, and by the very open-minded approach to music a lot of Finnish musicians have. One of our favourite musicians is the violinist Pekka Kuusisto. He's amazing, and just we just love what he does.
We love his freedom, and like feels like he brings his tradition to the classical world. There's a lot of like cross genre there, which is really nice.
Yeah, like I did a project once where he was directing. It was a small string ensemble, and we did a Bach concerto, and it was like I felt the same as I feel when I'm playing tunes, because he was just like playing the Bach like this, and why should it be any different? Yeah, it was very inspiring. So ever since that experience, I have been desperate to visit Finland and discover more of your music. We were wondering as well, because obviously there's a lot of like crossover between folk music from the British Isles and Scandinavian folk music, and I think I noticed it particularly growing up because I come from the very north of Scotland, from the Orkney Islands, and kind of in the UK, the further north you go, the more you can hear the links with Scandinavia in the music. So how would you say that the fiddle music of Finland is connected to the fiddle music of Scotland?
Well, the fiddle music of Finland is related to the fiddle music of Sweden, and then the Swedish music is, it's sort of
Norway, and then
yeah. So you can hear that there are that there are some tunes that you can hear the same, that they're the same, but they're still different in every country. But yeah, I think because we're sort of so much further east. That, the boats didn't come all this way.
Feels like there's a sort of spaciousness that appears the more north and then east you go. Music builds, there's more spaciousness incorporated to the music.
Yeah, and then when you keep going to Estonia, that curve sort of keeps going. So have you guys always played 5-string fiddles, or was that a conscious decision to bring those in?
That was a conscious decision. We ordered ours in 2008, or got ours in 2008. I saw the first 5-string fiddle in 2000 when Casey Dreesen was in He taught a course in Haapavesi, and I was like, oh my god, that's so great.
He's cool, yeah.
And then I played the viola for a few years with the violin, but that was, it's hard to not have the fingers right.
So big.
And it was big as well. And then I ordered mine, and then Emilia got hers.
When I studied, I heard the Canadian Oliver Schroer. He recorded quite many CDs, and you can hear that he has played very much music of Bach, for example. And he has had this 5-string viola actually. So it was the sound was so amazing for me. So I started to dream about what could it be possible to have a 5-string fiddle.
Yeah, it definitely adds depth, and especially because you guys are 2 violins, it just gives it the C string just gives it the extra depth. Was that the thinking behind it? So you could accompany easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, and even though it's only 5 notes, it's so much more than the 5 notes.
Yeah,
it goes beyond the 5 notes. It sounds like sometimes when we're sort of telling what that 5th string is, people are like, but that's only 5 notes. I'm like, it's not just 5 notes.
It's a whole world.
Yes.
What do you love about playing in a duo? Because you guys have been in a duo about the same length of time that we've been in a duo. Are there any things that you particularly enjoy about just playing the 2 of you?
I don't think I have there's a similar connection with anyone else while playing, because we've played so much, and with the commission pieces that we have, we've had to learn other people's music, and then we have the traditional stuff where we improvise all the time and do stuff, and then you have to be there, and then you have to sort of have the connection, because if you don't have the connection while you're playing, it's just you can still sound okay, but you yourself know that it's the connection, I think. What about you, Emilia?
It's a connection, I think, because it's challenging, but also there is so many possibilities to find for your music, and also because we have the same instrument, 2 fiddles, so that makes something, because the instrument, but you are 2 different players, and you are working to your music in a kind of trying to make it together.
Yeah, you find there's similarities and differences in the way you play your instruments, and you can connect on both of those things. Yeah, we definitely resonate with the connection thing, because I don't think I know anyone as well as I know Katrina, actually, in some ways. We've got like a real kind of intimate relationship, which is from touring a lot together and having to connect on this like really intimate level.
Yeah, and it's nowadays it's like we're on a gig, and then something happens, stuff happens during gigs, and then you can just look at the other going like, right, so that happened, and then we can just look at each other, and then we can sort of get through whatever that happens.
Yeah, you just know. You're
exactly.
almost telepathic. You know what they're thinking. You know what's just happened.
And then when Emilia plays something, I'm like, okay, she's going that way, right? So there's it comes through having played so many gigs together, having played tunes that are really hard, where you have to really be, concentrate, and then some stuff still happens, and you're like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? And then you just you get through that, and you're like, oh, well, that was good.
Yeah.
But I think you need that experience behind you to really feel sort of natural and fluent in that situation. Nowadays, I feel like whatever happens, we can still sort it out.
During lockdown, we had to do a couple of videos where we recorded separately, and I played on top of what Esther was already playing, and you know, the thought of doing that was a bit like, oh, how's it going to be together, and like all this stuff. But it was really interesting because I knew where she was going to go. It was like she was in the room with me because I just know her playing so well. And it's quite an amazing thing to get to the point when you know somebody so well musically. You don't really have to verbally communicate about things that much. Duos all the way.
Yay!
So the last question we just wanted to ask you is, what's your experience of touring as a duo? Have you toured much just with the two of you on the road?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Usually we're on the road, just the two of us. So, well, for the past 5 years now, we've sometimes had Emilia's husband and a baby with us. But other than that, it's just the two of us. We've done some tours on bicycles. It was a decision from the start that, okay, this is a duo where we only play the violins. We don't sing, we play other instruments, or we made a decision of just playing these two violins. Maybe consciously making a decision of actually having a duo where, you can actually walk to the venue and then start playing, rather than having to set up a PA every time, or having to rent a car or anything. So it's a very light duo.
That sounds delightful.
It is, because we've done 3 or 4 bicycle tours in Finland now.
Wow.
So we have the violin and other gig gear in one bag, and then everything else in the other, and then we just cycle from venue to the other.
It's really inspiring, actually, because it's something we can't do, because I play the harp. It's massive. And I love the attitude of you just saying, okay, we're just going to do instrumental music just with fiddles, and we're going to minimalize our setup.
I find that you can sort of find strength in restrictions. So we sort of restricted what we do. So we concentrated on the fiddle stuff of traditional Finnish music, and then we added the commission pieces from our colleagues. But it's still quite sort of restricted area. We're quite focused on a quite sort of narrow bit of music. But on the other hand, we're digging deeper, and we're trying to take everything out of that. We're trying to find sounds in our instruments and find new ways to arrange tunes and all that. And I don't think we do so much if we had, taken up singing or whatever into this duo.
Yeah, it's so lovely. It's lovely to keep something just really pure sometimes, isn't it? And because it can be very tempting to add. It's something that we've thought about a lot, because we've taken on a couple of session musicians for our last album, and that was a really careful decision, because we didn't want it to be totally different. We just wanted to enhance what was already there, but the duo is still very much the focus of it. Have
the album while I was walking, and I was like, that's not a harp, that's a double bass.
As Esther said, we have a very close relationship, and when we're on tour, all of the experiences are experienced together, and we have had some hilarious stories about touring as a duo. Have you guys got any hilarious stories that you can share with us?
Hilarious stories? Well, there's a baby going.
When we were in China and we were trying to buy a food.
Oh yeah. We were in Shanghai last December, and then we thought, first evening there, and we were like, well, we can go and have dinner, just the two of us, not bother the agent there. And so we went for a walk. There were loads of restaurants all over very near the hotel, so we just went for a walk, and we're like, oh, we'll find food. We didn't, because we went to a place and no one spoke anything other than Chinese, and then I was sort of pointing at, stuff on the menu, and they were still like,
a raised eyebrow. Are you sure?
And then we're like, okay, we can't find food, but let's get some coffees. And then we went to a coffee shop that really had like coffee written on top of their door. So we're like, okay, we can get a cup of coffee from there. Nope. They didn't sell coffee. They didn't sell any tea either. So we ended up eating a piece of chocolate cake, I think.
Oh well, could be worse. Oh yeah, that's really tricky if you're on tour somewhere where they have a different alphabet.
Yeah.
That gets very tricky. Well done for finding your piece of chocolate cake.
Yeah, we were quite proud of ourselves. We also had a gig where the electrical board just started to give out lightnings. That was in Finland, but yeah.
Oh crikey.
Yeah. So at one point the ranger was like, "Do you have? How many tunes do you have before your break?" We're like, 1. Okay, you can play that, but after that, let's have a break because our electrical board is just not good.
Oh goodness. Wow. Well, glad you made it out alive.
Wow. It's so nice to hear about your travels around the world as well. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I think it's amazing just to find yourself plunked in another country, isn't it? Where you've just got to kind of figure it out. And you're just sort of at the mercy of the people who are hosting you. It's really fun. It's like really fun to just put your faith in people in that moment as well.
Yeah, such an adventure. We're so fortunate to get to do that for a job.
Exactly.
Hopefully we'll be able to do it again one day. Yeah.
Oh, hey, thank you so much, you two. It's been really, really lovely to chat to you both.
Thank you so much, and hope you have a great week ahead and Global Music Match. It's very exciting.
I'm really excited. I don't know what's coming. So
yeah, it's such an exciting project. We're so happy to be part of it, and it's lovely to get to connect with lovely people such as yourselves. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.